So living in 2021, things are happening and changing at a dizzying pace. Literally every hour on the hour, there's another news cycle, another news piece, something new is happening in the world. And it's crazy and mind-boggling. Things are happening. It's mind-boggling how fast things happen. And how do we react to this? A guy called me up last week and he says, I've lived for so many years here, but the challenges running around in today's day and age, I think are just too much, he says to me, and I don't know what to do anymore. That's what he says. I don't know what to do. What is the answer? How do we survive? How do we persevere? How do we deal with our problems in life? And especially, when the political situation is not to your benefit, you don't think the right politics, the right leaders are being chosen or doing the right job. How do you deal with it? So, as always, in life, we turn to the Torah. The Torah has the answers to everything. Everything you ever want to know, you study the Torah. The Alter Rebbe used to say, live with the times. Live with the times doesn't mean the New York Times, it means the Torah Times. So let's open up the Parsha this week. And we read the fascinating story of the spies. We read how the Jews messed up and their mistake has repercussions till today. But when we learn the story, we will understand there's a tremendous lesson for us today in our lives, how to lead our lives and how to live joyously despite all the problems and challenges we may face. You see, the original plan in history was that the Jews should leave Egypt. They should receive the Torah 49 days later, and then they should go to Israel. From Mount Sinai to Israel is 2 weeks, 2-week journey. But the Jews, and when they went to Israel, Moses would be the leader. Moses would build the temple. The temple would be built by Moses and would never be destroyed. Moses would be the Messiah. And that's it. There'd be no pogroms, no Cossacks, no Hitler, no Stalin, no Arafat, no Hamas rockets, no anti-Semitism in 2021. Can you imagine? No coronavirus. Everything would be fantastic. But the Jews messed up because they said, we want to send spies. So Moses dispatched 12 spies to Israel, who were there for 40 days, and they came back with a very disfavorable report about Israel. They said, we cannot go and conquer the inhabitants, they're too strong for us. And the people of Israel cried, and they said, we cannot go to Israel. That night was Tisha B'Av. God said, you cried for no reason. I'll make sure Tisha B'Av is a night to cry. And that entire generation had to live and die in the desert for 40 years. They lived in the desert, and that generation died in the desert, and Moses died in the desert, and only the next leader, Joshua, went into Israel. King Solomon ended up building the temple, which was destroyed, and then it was rebuilt, the second temple, which was also destroyed, and today we are still suffering from that mistake. The question is, what did the spies do wrong? You look and analyze the story of the spies, they actually said the truth. They said, Israel is inhabited by giants. The fruits are massive. Their armies are so powerful. They didn't lie about anything. They said the truth. So what was their mistake? What went wrong? And here's the key. You see, Moses asked them to figure out how to conquer Israel. There were nations living in Israel, and Moses wanted to know, please tell me your thoughts of how to conquer Israel. But the spies questioned if they were able to conquer Israel. They drew their own conclusion. That was their mistake. Moses never asked them if Israel could be conquered. He never tasked them with questioning the mission. The mission was, we are going to conquer Israel. Now tell me how. It's difficult, it's obstacles, it's challenges. All I'm asking you to do is figure out the best way. But don't question my statements. And that's where they went wrong. In fact, the spies, it says, they had this grasshopper syndrome. They looked at the giants and they said, oh, they're probably looking at us as if we're small, But this was the mistake. This is a tremendous lesson in our lives. You see, whatever challenges we may face, if it's from business, from shidduchim, from marriage, from politics, whatever challenge, from anti-Semitism, whatever challenge we may face, God gave us the ability to overcome our challenges. And the mistake we mustn't make is whether we are able to conquer and overcome our challenges. What we need to do is figure out the way to conquer our challenges, but not to question if we can conquer the hurdles. But it doesn't matter what hurdles we're talking about. And let me share with you a beautiful, powerful letter from the Rebbe, which actually discusses this exact idea. It's so beautiful. Look in front of you. The Rebbe writes like this. This is in Chafei Sivan Tafshin Yud Brooklyn, Shalom Uracha. He writes like this. I received a letter from Wednesday, the 34th day of the Omer, that you're describing your business, financial situation, that you are in tremendous debt. וכותב, and he writes, שיש לו אפשרות למכור איזה מגרשים שיש לו, you have the ability to sell some of your properties, אבל אינו יכול להחליט בעצמו למה לעשות, but you cannot decide on your own what to do. And this is what the Rebbe writes about. And the main thing in your letter, it seems that you are despondent, that you have fallen in your spirit. And automatically it's weakened by him, your level of trust in God. Trusting in God that everything will work out. This has weakened. And I'm writing, says Rebbe, this is the main thing. Why is that the main thing, the trust? Because according to what it says in the books, everything depends on your trust, on your belief that God will provide, that God is the answer to all your problems, not just business. Everything you can possibly think of that is challenging us in 2021, the answer is God, trust. Somebody told me, Rabbi, listen to your lectures, they're all the same. Of course they're all the same, because the answer to everything is trust in God. מידת הביטחון הנה היא קנה המידה להתקשרות ודבקות עניינים גשמיים של האדם. The level of trust is the measuring stick, the measuring rod to your connection, your physical matters, everything עם הבורא ברוך הוא with God. ואם הדבקות בבניין, and if your connection to God is intact, right? How do you get your connection to God? Trust. If your connection is intact, as בוודאי אי אפשר שיהיה כל חיסרון, then there's never going to be any problem. There will never be anything lacking in your life. כיוון שלמעלה אין עניין זה כלל וכלל. You see, above, there's no challenge. In other words, you think you have a problem. In this case, it was business. You don't know what properties, you're in debt, whatever. So when you trust in God, you are connecting to something that is higher than all your problems. So all your problems dissipate. They resolve themselves. Do not make the sin of the spies who question the mission. That's not trusting in God. God said, we are going to Israel. Now, figure out how. Continues the Rebbe, since you're asking for my advice, אחרי הקדמה, שכבקשתו כשהייתי על הציון, like at the request when I was at the Zion, the Rebbe, my father-in-law's grave, my opinion is that you need to work on yourself, to strengthen your emunah, your strength, your faith in God, in the greatest way. The greatest level of trust. You look in 2021, you don't see the natural way. How am I going to get out of this mess that I'm in? Now name that mess. There doesn't exist a human being in this world who doesn't have a major mess. And in a global problem, how are we going to get out of this mess that we're in? Whatever side of the political spectrum you're on, right? You think there's a mess. So even though you don't see any way to get out of it, it definitely will be good. So my response to that person who questioned me, things are so rough because of the anti-Semitism, we have a full trust in God that everything will be good. Of course, we have to do everything in our power to defend ourselves, but everything will be good. In a good that you will be able to see it. In this case, you will have great parnasa, livelihood and health. By God, physical things don't matter. Natural things don't matter. Because God runs the world. You see, we have to implant in ourselves the firm belief and trust. God runs the world. That's it. Since a person is standing here, but you raise yourself above from the world, you're affecting yourself, you work on yourself, that you have a belief in God, but you are 100% sure. Is no master upon me besides God. God is my only master. God is the only person I answer to. Nobody else. So no matter what hurdle or challenge life throws at you, trust in God. That's the answer. God can bring it down below. So God can surely make and ensure that nothing will affect you negatively here in this world. My resolve is strong in Hashem, my faith. The Rebbe writes, my faith is strong in God. That if you will only strengthen your faith in God, you will see, as soon as you strengthen your emunah bitachon, you will see how business will become so good for you. And your situation will improve greatly. And from good will be even much, much, much better. Then the Rebbe ends off the letter, you should give charity every single day, a little bit more than what you used to. And then the Rebbe ends off with a blessing. You see, this is the answer to all our problems. Here you go, here you have it. In the Torah, in the Parsha this week, you have literally all the answers to whatever problems, challenges you may have. What is it? Trust in God. And remember, don't mistake the lesson, don't make the same mistake the spies made, which was to question if it's possible. Of course it's possible. God put us here for a mission, to make this world a better place, to do mitzvot, to spread kindness, to make this world a godly home for God. Don't question if we could do it. Go out and ask the question, what am I going to do now to make this world a better place? Go out and do a mitzvah.